Welcome to the Jon Saunders Podcast, big man. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, good. For everyone, David Cotterill is the man. I've been trying to get you on for a long period of time, mate, haven't I?
Yeah, it's been a while. We've been, crossing paths, and we managed to get there in the end.
We got there, mate. We got there. You're right. It's taken 4 or 5 years for me to want to get you to get it on. But look, I like. Let's kick off. We'll. I got a question I wanted to frame to you. When did football start taking more than it gave you?
Straight in the deep end, aren't we?
It is, mate. It is.
Yeah, I think probably towards the back end of my career, I felt like when I was drinking heavy, it was like football was getting in the way of my drinking.
Yeah.
And it was just taking me more, just like I wasn't enjoying it. I think when you're a kid and you're enjoying it, you feel free, and then when you realise it becomes a job, when you get your first wage packet and blah blah blah, the first initial few months of it, you're buzzing because you're not used to getting that money. And then after that, you realise, shit is serious. Then it starts taking your fun out more and more as the years go by.
I bet. Was there? I mean, one thing I've loved about. I've done a bit of research on it, right, on yourself, and I've known you. One thing I really loved about what you've said previously is you knew exactly what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Is that true?
From a younger age.
From a young age, when you were growing up, you knew exactly what you wanted to do. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think probably from a very young age. I think even from as little as maybe 6 to 8, I knew that I was wanting to be a footballer.
Did you?
And without, obviously now we always, say we put it to the universe. We're manifesting things that's going to happen. But I used to do that, but not knowing what it was as a kid. I used to write down on on. It used to be called like word something or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I'd be on my computer and I was saying I've got a contract, a new contract. I'll be transferred to a Man United because I was a Man United fan. And blah, blah, blah. So I was putting it out there. I was going to make it as a footballer. But I think from the age of when I first signed for Bristol City when I was 10, being there for maybe 1 or 2 years, I knew that I was going to make it because I thought I practice enough. I know that I'm good enough, and I was mentally strong. And even when I trained with the first team when I was around about 14, 15, I was having with the reserves, etc. as well.
Yeah.
I had the mentality that I was better than the guy in my position. And I think that's important for a younger kid coming through. You need to have that to think that's what drives you to make sure you do the right ththings and progress.
And so that fascinated me. That what are those traits then? I suppose knowing, because I think for me, why I love what you said with that was not everyone knows what they want to do now.
Yeah.
Right. And I think I heard you say that there's I'm 40, 45 now, yeah, and I think I've just found what I fucking want to do, right? But to be really laser focused at that age, you mentioned your dad as well within previous having a big influence on you. Where does that how did that manifest from a young age of 10? Obviously coming from Ely, loving sport, knowing then at that point what you wanted to do. At what stage? Was there a stage at all that you ever doubted yourself?
No, not from a young age. I never doubted myself. No, because I think with the security that I had was when I was 14, Man United wanted to sign me.
Right.
But I looked at Bristol City's first team. And I thought I knew I was going to make my debut at 16. I don't know why. I thought I'm not too far away from making my debut. I was close enough. Man United to want to sign me. Even when we were playing against all the Prem boys in the academy. I've had people who play for West Ham's, academy, when we were playing against them, they knew I was going to be, go on to be a professional, etc. Yeah. But I used to have that arrogance and know that I probably practiced enough and I was good enough to put myself in those positions. And I think that when they offered me a 2-year scholar and then a pro contract as soon as I turned 16, I think that allowed me then to flourish. But Bristol City's academy was amazing. The coaches were amazing. The whole setup was great. My teammates at the time. And when I was going through some tough times, actually, when I retired from football and the newspapers started writing articles on me, etc., for different reasons.
Yeah.
One of my ex-teammates messaged me, a message saying, "Oh, you've always been a selfish, blah, 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 blah." And I had a little chuckle to myself because you don't get far in the pro game unless you're selfish. You need to be selfish because ultimately no one else is going to help you.
No one's coming to come and make it happen for you.
No one's going to make it happen for you. Even you need to make it happen. If you don't, then someone else is going to be on the conveyor belt ready to, take your place. And that's the way it is. And it's a short career. You're in there is to ultimately you love the game. You've set out to be a professional footballer, but then you're making sure you try and make a living to to live a nice life after it.
So what was the, you talked about arrogance. How would you say that arrogance is obviously played for you because of where you got to, and 20 odd caps, 24 caps for Wales, and all the clubs you played for. But has arrogance ever played the other way on you, where it's played against you?
Yeah, I think so. In normal walk of life, that's why I was trying to tend to stick up for like younger footballers and footballers in general, is because it's like we live in a culture where people don't like seeing other people be successful. Like when a guy drives down the street in a Ferrari, that people like saying, "Look at that show-off twat."
Yeah.
But they're not. They've worked very hard of what you want them to do.
Yeah.
So we instantly become humans. We're jealous of like what other people have, comparing our lives to others, which you shouldn't be doing. Yeah. And
but it's more and more now, right?
It's more and more. It's got worse. And I think, from the arrogance side of things, is that in a way you try and manage your own self and you protect that bubble, because as a footballer you're always having people wanting something off you. Like when I retire from football, no one's messaging me about tickets. Your phone gets very, very quiet.
No.
And that's just the way it is. Like you always agents want something off you, friends want something off you, or supposedly friends. So that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah. And did you find, again, we had a little chat off here, didn't we, about, we sort of met when I had 10 Millane, right? I think the old famous 6 in the morning.
Good times, that.
Yeah. But they were great times, right? They were great times. I loved it. I loved opening it. I loved doing it. And I used to get these phone calls, we've got the Birmingham boys in tonight, because obviously you played for Birmingham at the time. And, again, very respectful. You used to come in, you'd enjoy, we'd get you a booth, we'd sort it all out. I didn't know you well then, right? And I didn't, now we've seen each other in the gym and we've sort of had a path since then. But that time in your life then, with regards to, you said that obviously you had a rocky stage. Where did the rocky stage, where did you go from 10? Give me a bit of a rundown on the 10 to that Birmingham. Where did your footballing journey come from? Where did it take you from 10 to there?
I think from like an early age, when I was 16, 17, I moved to Wigan when they were in the Prem when I was about 17. So you're going from earning X amount of money at Bristol City, then you go into the Prem, you're seeing on like Match of the Day that you're playing at all these big boys. You kind of think that you've made it without, this is probably the time to knuckle down. Is
that the time then you thought, I'm in the big time here?
I'm in the big time, yeah.
Yeah, when
you think you're in the big time, yeah.
Yeah, you think at the time you are.
Yeah, and things are going very, very well, and from like a younger age, I was always, apart from my dad would challenge me. My dad was my biggest critic, but also my biggest cheerleader, really. Right. And so he would always challenge me from a mental point of view. If I had a bad game at 10 years old, I wouldn't fucking hear the end of it.
In what way? Because that's a really interesting point for me, because I've seen, I was just talking to the lad downstairs, I've taken my boy from like under 7s to seniors now, right? In rugby, totally different sport. Yeah. But parents, right? The bit, anyone ever asked me, John, what's the biggest thing you need to worry about with coaching? I said, well, the biggest thing you need to manage, mate, is the parents. Because the parents think I've always found them tough and challenging. But what you're saying is that your dad was a big part of you getting to where you got to, right?
Yeah, you need that push, don't you?
In what way then what I'm trying to get at, what in your eyes is acceptable push? Does that make sense? Because there's push, and then there's, like, I used to have people take their kids out of the rugby team because they didn't think that we were pushing their kids enough, and then all of a sudden now they're just not playing sport.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, what is enough, and what worked for you?
I think I probably needed that push, but also on the flip side of things is no one, even as adults, go out to make mistakes, and when you're 10 years old or 11 years old and you're making mistakes on a football pitch, you try and... I think he knew I had it in me, because he's been around football all his life. He's seen people come and go, and he knows what it's like. And I think he didn't want me to miss the boat. So
what did he see, do you think? Or what did he know? Because obviously, he's your dad, he's your blood, he's your...
Yeah, I think quite a lot of my family members have always been good at football, but none of them quite made it. They all talk a great game, like anyone. Like when you go into the local pub on the weekend, everyone's a football manager, everyone's a football professional, and they can all do it.
Yeah.
But until you see them, and then that's what I always laugh when you see, sometimes the crowd comes on and they try and kick the ball, and they can't kick the ball properly, then I always think, well, you're the one who's abusing like professional footballers. But
you're the one in the corner giving all the abuse.
But I think he just knew that I was mentally strong, and I was practicing all the time, and he'd push me, like my mum and dad would be out on the street with me, practicing football when I didn't have training with Bristol City and things like that. So he knew that I had it in me, and you do need that push, but you are right. It's kind of like, I see it a lot. I don't really get involved in like the football side of things, but I always say to parents if they ask me for any advice, I always say make sure your child wants the dream and not you.
Yeah.
You don't need to live the parent shouldn't be like them making it a professional from the parents having the dream. It should be the child having their dream.
But I love you saying that. But where did how do you get your kid to come up with that? You know what I mean? It's like, I know you don't want to drive, because I always say I don't want to drive my imperfections through my kids, right? I don't want to coach my boy in the way that I didn't have the chance myself. But where did you get that goal? Does that make sense?
I think I was just born with it. It was quite strange. I was always competitive.
For you? So it's that competitive edge. You've always been competitive ever since?
I was always competitive. Like even when I would lose a football match, and even from a very young age, maybe 9-10 years old, I couldn't just let it settle. I was
an example of that, a story around that.
I remember when we were playing a football tournament actually in school, and I was like very critical of my teammates as well, and I was really tough. And the one boy started crying, and we were in school,
right.
And I just couldn't, and I still don't to this day understand how people can place any sport or anything without trying to win.
Yeah. And I suppose for you then, is it more fair to lose or to win? You're more scared to lose, or you're more
scared to lose. I think when everything is on the line for you, when footballers or any professional, when you're out there and you need to provide for your family or you're providing for whatever it is, and that's your job, and you need to win, you play to win.
Yeah.
And I was the same when I was like running, when I was like sprinting with other people against like when we had like athletic days or whatever it was, I was always aiming to win. And even now when I play against my kids in whether it's a ball game or not, I aim to win.
But that's that ego piece as well, isn't it? Or that arrogance piece. Do you think that people, if I was, you said that guy phoned you or messaged you and said, look, you look after yourself. You said you brushed that off and laughed at it, but is that willingness to win, is it more of an arrogance piece, or is it people? Well, let me ask a question: do people not understand you, or do you not understand them?
Maybe it's a bit of both, but I also have that arrogant side to think that, well, I don't need to understand you. And a part of me makes me think when he messaged me, I felt like saying to him, well, there's a reason why I made it professional and you got released.
Right.
So maybe if he took the same approach that I did, he might have got somewhere.
Yeah.
But that's just the way it is, like football, as we spoke before coming on, is a ruthless business, and ultimately you set out as a young kid to follow your dreams, but also it's very ruthless, as I said, and sometimes you can have a rude awakening, whether you're a child, you're getting released, whether you're like 18, 19, you're trying to get, you can get released very, very quickly and things can turn on you,
Yeah, what's the, that releasing piece? How would it taught me, like, from someone who's really interested? I'm really interested in professional sports, especially football, because I think you're in a goldfish bowl.
Yeah. Right.
Everyone's been looking in. It's a very inward looking. Everyone's got a view. Right. There's not one person I think that I've ever spoken to that hasn't got a view on footballers, the way they play. Everyone's a view, right?
Yeah.
So you've got everyone's your marketplace, but that conversation when kids get let go or people let go, how? Obviously, have you ever had one of those conversations from a club?
No, never. I've had with contracts and things. I've had, I've been made to train on my own when I was a professional, but I was still in contract, still making good money.
Right.
But I've never been released from somewhere to, and then I'm like scrambling around the place to see what's going on, especially as a younger player.
Yeah. How do those conversations actually go? How do they happen? I know obviously they make a decision on whether.
Well, from like academy players, you come to the end of, like, say if you've been offered like a 1 or 2 year contract, you come to the end of that period of time, or if you're YTS, they used to call it, I don't know if they still call it that now. And then come to the end of the season, you have your meeting with the coach and the club, and then there's boys coming out crying because you're just getting released, and that's it. But back in the day, you didn't used to have much aftercare, so you'd be like, you're gone. You'd now then someone else's problem. That's why I've spoke out about that quite a lot. And there's a lot of people that want to see other people fail. That's the issue. You're trying to make it a footballer. Next, they want to see you down. Oh, well, you got a normal job now. You're part of one of us, is what they, what I've heard in the past. But it is very, very ruthless because, as I say, most adults can't take rejection very, very well, and they expect a kid then who's very young to take this rejection and continue his life, and it can dampen them, their, everything, their confidence, and it takes a while to get them back up as well.
What would you say then? Someone's listened to this and they're maybe they think their kid's going to get there, right?
Yeah.
one of my previous guests talked about managing the expectations and making sure that we plan for failure. I think that hit me actually, because I don't think I've never been the sort of person to plan for failure very well.
I was just about to say the same thing.
Yeah. And I was going to say with you, like, it doesn't sound like if you're going to win all the time and I'm a winning mentality, I don't factor in the failure piece, because I don't ever think that's going to happen. Now, what would you say as an advice to a parent that's sat there thinking, right, my kid's going to make this, and they think they are, they think they do, and there's a potential at the end of that contract that they might well come get released. What can they do, or what would your advice be from where you've been and what you've seen?
I think a lot of parents are deluded as well, because it's their child. They think they're the cream of the crop. They're the best of the best, and they got the blinkers on really, without seeing the actual game of like what other people are offering.
Yeah. And
the chances of anyone making it as a footballer is very, very slim. And I think deep down you'd like to think they know, but it's a very difficult question that is for me to answer, because I don't believe in having like a plan B, because having a backup plan, because I think if you throw yourself into it at all costs and you practice enough and you back yourself enough, then ultimately you should get the results.
Yeah. So it's then what I'm hearing then is about, if you look after the process, the process looks after you, right?
Yeah, and if you bring it up in like a loving environment, if the parent is, no matter what happens, you've always got us, and we keep trying we keep trying. Just because you might fail at one hurdle doesn't mean you can't then make it as another club. There's many players over the years who have got released by clubs, and next thing you know, they're getting bought for the Man City Semenya has just been bought for 65 million. He's playing in League Two not so long ago, and he's done very, very well. Yeah. So they've been released to certain clubs, but you keep going. But that's it. Got to come down to the individual as well. It got to come down to that son or daughter to have that belief in themselves to keep going. But that's like anything in life. Whether you get knocked down or not, the people who become successful are the ones who keep going. The billionaires of the world, they didn't just they didn't stop at the first hurdle. They kept going and going and going.
No, agreed. And what sort of traits? What sort of traits have you seen people around you? The ones that have worked out, the ones that have got there. What sort of behaviours have they got? And what did you have to get the way you got to in your career? What sort of, you said about doggedness, resilience. What do you see in other people that's that missing ingredient that people have that they make it? Like you said, the percentages are small, right? So what do you see what did you have yourself, and what do you see in other people that is just that secret, that behaviour that they've all got to make it?
Consistency, I think. They're very consistent. The top players do it day in, day out, not just once a week or once a month or whatever. That's when when you see like the FA Cup upsets and a League Two team might be a Prem team. They might be in once in a blue moon, but if you put them in the Prem, they wouldn't be able to do it every week. Yeah. The reason being is obviously they're not maybe as talented as them, or they might have some talented players, but they do it day in, day out, and that's the difference. Repetition, and they turn up on train, and they know when to make it happen when it comes to game day. And all the best players that I've come across, they do it day in, day out.
I love that. That's exactly the answer that our previous guest had, was because he'd been coaching at a senior level. I asked him the same question, and he said exactly the same thing: the consistency. On that level, then, when it comes to consistency with yourself, what have you had to sacrifice more than ever to get to that point? So obviously, it comes with sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
What do you feel, looking back, that was the biggest sacrifice you had to give to make it?
I think probably early on was the biggest sacrifice that I had awakening to was, when I was like, I think I was like 16 or maybe even 15. I traveled with Bristol City's first team on Christmas Day. So I had to sacrifice, obviously, not going, having Christmas. I was going away with the first team, which ultimately, that was a dream anyway. It was it was a perfect Christmas present for me. But looking back, when I look at my daughter and my son, for example, like my daughter's 15, and I was like thinking, I was traveling at the same age as her. Yeah. And my son's 18, and I already played X amount of football matches by then. So I thought I was quite mature. But looking back, I was like, you don't know, but you have to grow up very, very quickly in football for sure.
Why? Why in football specifically? Because I can understand why. I was saying, I know Charlie Crew's family. I used to actually, I would say I coached him, but only he was 7 or 8. Right, yeah. I'm not going to put anything to his career now, but I've seen the sacrifice the parents have had to give, but also the sacrifice he's given.
Yeah.
Like my boy will go out on the Raz, like, you know, he's a proper pisshead, my boy, to be fair, and if he listens to this, he'll understand what I'm saying. But he loves to have a beer with the boys, right?
Yeah.
Charlie hasn't done that and isn't doing that. He doesn't do that. So there's a sacrifice that he's had to give to that, to be in that position. But I suppose for you at 15 to get on that bus was I take it like you said, was your dream, right? Was what you wanted.
Yeah, do you know what? I always remember my dad saying this. My dad saying to me on the way home one time, I think I was training. We were coming back home from Bristol to Cardiff, and he would go, oh, you know, you've got a great opportunity to be a professional footballer, and this doesn't come around every single day. You know, you need to grab it with both hands. And he said, see all these boys that are in the street, they're still going to be here when you make it as a professional or not. But if you make it as a professional, I guarantee you when you come back a few years later, they'll still be doing the same thing. And I made it as a professional. I remember going, when I signed for Wigan, I come back. I had a really nice car for my age and whatever else, blah, blah, blah. And I seen the same kids and the same guys doing the same things in the street, and I just thought that was the best bit of advice. And I think that's what probably it resonated with me, because I wanted to make it so much, and I just thought I used them as a driving force, and people in my family who failed to be a footballer, because as I say, everyone talks a great game.
Yeah.
Everyone likes the idea of being a footballer without putting it into action and making it happen. And that's up and down the country, like that's all over the world. And I sacrificed so much, and my family sacrificed, my parents sacrificed so much, and people don't see that. You know, my dad was driving over to Bristol, finishing work early for 3 or 4 days a week, and blah, blah, blah. So up and down, there was a lot of sacrifice made.
Yeah.
And as I say, like these kids, they didn't want to make the sacrifice. They were, as what you just said, they were going out smoking weed, they were drinking, they were doing this and doing that, and I would be tucked up in bed ready to go to Bristol like 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning. Yeah.
So again, going back to you within that, what was the, you know, was there something within you that you saw, you know, looking back different to you? Because I take it, you know, it's a massively competitive space. Everyone thinks they're going to make it. What was different to you? What made you? What was it that made you that, you know, I am going to make it? Was it more internal? Was it more?
I think
what was it?
Both. I think I was a good athlete. I had good ability, but I also backed it up mentality wise, and I practice, and I don't think everyone can say that. When I was like, you know, at Bristol City, I was on the streets with a ball. I was playing with my mates constantly with a ball at my feet.
Yeah. And
ultimately, you know, you need a bit of luck as well along the way. You need to have good coaches. You need to have, you know, people who back you, who believe in you. And I think that's what I had. I had good coaches at Bristol City. The academy manager was really like me. And ultimately, you know, Brian Tinian gave me my debut at Bristol City. And you need someone to believe in you to give you that first chance. And then it goes from there. But then ultimately, it then does come down to yourself.
Did you make your own luck? Do you feel?
Yeah, I think so for sure.
And what does that look like? Especially, I know we're talking specifically about football, but this is a life skill, right? What is making your own luck?
I think if you work hard enough and you dedicate your life to it, eventually the good things are going to happen. As I say, if you don't even if you fail once or twice, you just keep going. I think the person who keeps going will eventually get to see the results. Yeah. And that's why when commentators have said, or fans might say, oh my God, when Messi makes his day, he's an overnight success. No. It's taken many years to get to that level. The sacrifices that he would have made or any other footballer would have made. You don't become an overnight success. That's years of practice. No. And dedication from the family. You know, probably footballers are going to certain dark places. You know, sometimes you're in a bad game, you think, you know, you're good enough, you're not good enough, and you need to pick yourself up very quickly.
Do you ever doubt yourself with that?
Yeah, when you have a bad game, you're like...
Any particular game?
I think it was. I remember Sheffield United when we played the playoff final. We lost to Burnley. Like, am I going to be a Championship player? A lot more than a Premier League player, because ability-wise, without sounding arrogant, I knew I could play in the Prem a lot more. I think my life decisions were not the best. I think if I could take my time back now, I live a healthier life now than what I did when I was a professional footballer. Right. I don't drink no more. I was drinking non-stop.
Are you 6 years sober?
I'm coming up to 7 years sober next month.
7 years,
nearly 7 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, just getting influenced. You're going out, you're partying, you're having house parties, you're seeing women, you're drinking non-stop, and I think if I could take things back, that would definitely be the one of them. I'd just live a healthier life for sure.
And would you, and out of interest with that, then, if you, so we're going to go into, I want to cover that bit where you've had a journey, right? We've all had a story, we've all got a journey with it, and part of that 10 mil name days, I would say, is probably the peak of. I don't know enough about that time in your life, right? But I would have thought that was part and time that...
Oh, it's part of the journey.
Yeah, it was the journey, right? It's part of the journey. So we're definitely going to cover that in a bit. But the path to look back to come forward, well, why don't we just go there now? Where did it... that's the question I was asked, sorry, I'm miles away. Do you think you would have, if looking back and you could change things, if you were... Like, if your body and the way you would treat your body now and the way you're disciplined now within how you... Because I've seen you in the gym, right? Meticulous, right? I've seen you, right? And I think a lot of people can learn from that, right? I really do. I think there's a point at which you're in, you do it, you're going to get it done, you're moving out, right? And I can see how you're mentally, like, taking on a session. I bet you take a session on, like, you know exactly what you're doing, you're going to do it, and you're going to deliver it, and you're going to do the best you can do. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, in and out. I thought I just go in there, I just smash it out for, like, 45 minutes, and I just get it done. Like what you said, I'm in the zone. I'm like, some people might think, oh my god, that's the same thing. Like when I'm in the gym and wherever else people walk past me, I think, oh, he's arrogant. No, I'm not there to make friends. I'm there to do my routine.
I'm here to do a job.
Yeah, I'm here to keep mentally more than physically.
The question I was going to ask is, where do you think you could have been? Or you look at, like, I look at what you've done, and I think there's Welsh caps.
Yeah.
For teams you've played for have been amazing. If you were had the mentality now back at playing, how good could you have been?
I think I should have played most of my career in the Prem,
right.
For sure. I still even think now I should have had minimum 80 caps, I would have thought, for Wales. I made my debut when I was 17.
Right.
A few choices, and I think that's where I wouldn't have changed how I voiced my opinion, because I don't like the thought of being like a yes man. That's what didn't go down well with me in football wise, is because I remember when me and John Toshak, it was made public knowledge, and it was all in the newspapers, like blah blah blah, and I had a little spat with him, and I had a lot of respect for him. He's a good man.
I was going to say, because you've been early in your career, right?
Yeah, I was early in my career, and he's a good man. He gave me my Wales debut, and he was really good to the youngsters. It was just like a little squabble we had. He wanted all the boys to be in the Premier League,
right?
And I was in the Prem at that time, and then he was playing lesser players at like League 2 in front of me, and I had a little bite back, and I thought, well, if I'm in the Prem.
How did you front that up? Do you want me asking?
I think I'm not sure if I got tucked up by a journalist, actually, because they rang me about an interview, and then
I'm not trying to tuck you up there. I just wouldn't mind knowing.
And they changed the story in the newspapers, and then I was like, we had a little chat, me and John. He's like, we'll squash it, and I did say to him face to face, I said, look, you wanted all the players to get higher. Now that I'm in the Prem, I think you're playing a lesser player than me, definitely ability wise. And, ultimately he's got to make the decisions, and I should maybe have played the game a little bit better then.
Okay, what do you mean by that? As in what? Talking to the coaches in a way that you got a better result? Yeah,
more of like just a bit more respect, I think.
Okay. Because I take it, not knowing Toshak like I do, I would have thought that I say hierarchical, but he's old school, isn't he?
He's old school.
He's old school.
And he's obviously been at Real Madrid, and he's got that kind of, Liverpool, and he's got that presence, and he is a known world name. I should have maybe just bit my tongue a little bit and just
held it back slightly.
Just held it back slightly and just tried to learn. But I think because I was playing the Prem and I played so many games even for Bristol City at such a young age, I thought that I should be playing.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of things, you should have that. You should always believe that you should be playing. If there's a footballer out there and they're happy to be on the bench and they don't think they should be playing, I don't think you're not going to last long.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point made, isn't it? Because it's that fine line between, like, I do a lot of coaching and training with it, and I coach people to have it out with people.
Yeah.
Because if you can't have it out with somebody, there is a time and a place, right? And I think that's maybe, that's something that can be discussed at a different time regarding when you say it, but something's got to be said.
Yeah.
You back yourself.
You got to back yourself. And I think I think in nowadays, I think it's a lot softer what it used to be like. When I was playing training for Bristol City, I was 15, 16, I was getting smashed by grown men, like just wiping me out in training. Whereas like now, it did change. Like even towards the back end of my career, I remember I come out of professional football. I retired for about 18 months, and I played for a Welsh Prem team.
Yeah.
Just like go, and I thought, I'll see how it goes. And I remember I hammered one of the younger players. Then he wasn't even that young. He was like 23.
Yeah.
And I was like told just to just take it easy and blah blah. And I instantly just thought, no,
is this going to work
again?
out?
It was the same thing. We're here to win. Like
of course.
There's a reason why I've played, where I have, and there's a reason why other boys have not played where I've been at that level. And I just think there's just well, of course, it's like anything. There's levels to the game, but ultimately you're there to win regardless of what league you're in.
Yeah, of course. And you said maybe 80 caps for Wales. Then going back to that, any aspirations wise to play for teams? I know you said
I always wanted to play for Man United. I always wanted to play for Man United.
It was nearly on the cards then, right?
It was as a kid, yeah, but I just thought that I had the right path for me was to make my debut for Bristol City and develop there.
Yeah.
Because I thought I wasn't too far away from the first team when I was even 14. I just had that mindset.
Yeah.
And yeah, they were always giving the academy players a good chance. It was a good club. And I just felt that was the right journey for me to progress, and then I would eventually get to the Premier League, which I did. And I always wanted to play in the Prem, which I managed to do. But I should have played a lot longer there.
What was that like? As if somebody who sat there, somebody who sat there, just like I think you're the first footballer I've actually interviewed, right?
Yeah.
Or a footballer that's got a past. I don't like labelling people what they've done, right?
Yeah.
Because I think there's part of that. But someone who's been on, what is it like to play at that stage? I'm also very interested in your Welsh.
Yeah.
Playing for Wales, right? Because what is it like to play in the Prem? What was it?
You set out. When I played in the Prem, it was like you've set out to play in the Premier League and you've reached that goal. And I was always thinking about what's the next one? You want to further and better yourself always. It was just always what I set out to do. When I was a young kid, I wanted to play in the Premier League. I wanted to be seen on Match of the Day. I managed to be on Match of the Day.
Fantastic.
And I always wanted to play at Old Trafford, which I managed to do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not for them. But
that would have been the goal, right?
That would have been the goal, to play for Man United. That was the thing, and I always wanted to play for Wales. So I managed to play in the Prem, and I managed to play for Wales, something that I always wanted to do.
What was that first cap like? What was your debut like for Wales?
It was, I think I came on for like 10, 15 minutes. So Ryan Giggs was my hero.
Yeah.
And I come on to beat his youngest ever record for Wales, playing for Wales. So to do that, it was special. And he was always good. He was always good with me, to be fair. He was,
But you obviously started with him, right?
Yeah, started off
in the Welsh camp.
In the Welsh camp, yeah. And I was just like,
what was that like then, training with your hero?
Amazing. I was always watching what him and Bellamy was doing, because even what people think about Bellamy, he's one of the best trainers and most dedicated athletes that I've come across.
I've heard you said that before. That he would work harder than anyone.
Yeah, he's on it. He's really on it. I think he'd probably top 3 professionals.
Is he?
Yeah, he was unbelievable, and he was always like training very, very well. Always, but he would never ask other people something to do that he wouldn't do and sacrifice for himself. So he was.
Well, you can see that in his coaching style.
Yeah, he's good.
You can see it in his coaching. My father-in-law's actually with his. He went to Rummy High.
Oh, okay.
So my father-in-law was his caretaker.
Yeah.
He always taught. He was a bit of a tinker in school, right? So my father-in-law says all he kept doing was just taking a football out and playing football. But work ethic-wise, you can see it in him. He's got it.
He loves the game.
Yeah.
He loves it, and he was a top professional, and Giggs was like exactly the same, top professional. I didn't manage to play with him too much because, of course, he would, with his club commitments and his age and things like that, he was not always away on camp. But yeah, he was class. I managed to play with my hero and whatever else. He was great to be around those players.
What did he have? To be your hero, what did he have? Because I suppose one of those things that I look at is they say never meet your heroes, right?
Mm.
So what was he? He's always been your hero, I take it, from a young age. When you met with him and had that privilege to play with him, was he still? He is still now a hero for you, right? So what did he have when you were younger that you thought he had that he ended up having? Does that make sense? The question.
I think. Do you know what? I was a Man United fan. I always wanted to wear the number 11 shirt, which I managed to do in my career.
Yeah. Fab.
And he's from Wales, obviously. And as I say, he was a Man United fan. And when I watched United, he was a younger player then, and he would just get fans off their seat. He was entertaining. He was like something that I seen what I had in my game. I like to go past people. I like to make things happen. And obviously, he was on a different level altogether. I'm not comparing my career to his.
But like you're on the same pitch as him.
Yeah.
So you know.
But I looked at my game and what he was doing as a winger, because I was a winger.
Yeah.
So but on the other side, and I just found him exciting, and he was from Wales, and everything, people looked up to him.
So he still stays your hero till now?
Yeah, from a playing wise, I think to be fair, I think Bale might have taken that after playing with him. Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. I was moving into, because obviously you played with Bellamy, you've played with some absolute world class. And I've seen you. I remember watching you play and thinking, like, this boy's the man, right? You scored a cracking goal. I'm not a football man, but you scored one hell of a goal, celebrating the corner. I think it was 2015, 16, that golden era you were in.
Yeah.
And I thought, you're in there, right? Gareth Bale was there. You've mentioned previously about playing with Gareth Bale. I've actually had his ex-school teacher on the podcast, right? Gwyn Morris. Brilliant. He was his teacher in Cardiff High. What was he like to play with?
Unbelievable.
What did you take from him, and how did you feel playing with him,
I think he gave us that sense of belief. We felt like when we were playing against most countries, if not all, that he was the best player on the pitch. So we felt like if we could keep our shit together, then he could win us the match at any given opportunity. The top players can do that. Very few can do that.
Yeah.
And when he went to Real Madrid, he was just a different level. And I don't think you don't get the respect that he deserves from that point of view, in my opinion, because he was just he's unreal. And
to think he just walks into Asda in Pompenai, right? And he just walks in, gets his cup of tea. Normal guy, right? And so, I mean, for me, I'd love to meet with him, full stop. But to have just be rubbing shoulders with players like that for you, I mean, what was it? I mean, obviously he's been, one of the best players of all time. Definitely for Wales, I'd argue those two you said. What was he like to play with?
Yeah, just a freak.
Was he? In what way? What do you mean by freak?
Just so strong, quick, ability-wise, just ridiculous. He's the best player I've played with by
work ethic, mentality. What would he?
It's quite strange, really. Actually, sometimes when we used to go down for breakfast and he's eating Cocoa Pops and he's having like normal style, I used to think, how the fuck are you so ripped?
Yeah.
But he was a machine. But he always prepared properly.
Right. In what way?
He had his own like when he came over from Real Madrid, he'd have his own like a couple of guys that were masseuses or like kind of trainers with him, make sure he prepared for the games properly. He was always doing the right things. He was a wicked teammate. He was always with the boys. He was like very humble. I can't speak highly enough of him.
No.
But we grew up with each other from a younger age.
I was going to say, because you followed the path with him, right?
Most of us in the first team we went to the Euros in 2016, most of us come through the ranks, so we knew each other, So I think that's what knitted us, a lot of us together.
Yeah, I bet. And that humble side, we're biased because I'm Welsh, but I would argue that they're all quite humble, I would have thought, in that Welsh camp. And just having that, I don't know, both of you from Cardiff as well, I bet that would have been...
Yeah, everyone, to be fair, we didn't have no idiots in the squad. It was
no
just,
dickheads.
No, it was just wicked. Like when we went to the Euros, sometimes it felt like a stag do, where we'd win a match and then Chris Coleman would just make sure we had loads of beers coming in the dressing room. I think in a strange way, but that's what kept us close together. Like we'd party together, but I remember when we went out in France, the one time, it was like going out in Tenby or something, just a picture in that, and we went to this one bar and there was two people in there before us. As soon as we rocked up there, it was just like thousands of people just like partying, obviously because Bale's there. Not me, that's for sure.
No, they'd been there for you, mate. They'd have been there for you, definitely.
So when we turned up, it was just ridiculous. Like we couldn't move anywhere.
And what was that time like then? I know we've not really zipped through your career-wise, but what was it like at that particular time? Because I would say that was the resurgence of Welsh football, right?
In my opinion, I think that's the best Welsh squad ever.
So what was it like to be part of it? What was it like for you? Because you were a key part of that squad, right?
Yeah, to be fair, I think the competition back then was quite high.
Yeah.
We had even players who were left out, and they were at good clubs. They were playing at a high level, but the competition was very high. I think in terms of the squad depth, I think that's the best Welsh squad we've had.
I wouldn't disagree, mate. I think it captured me, and I'm not a footballer.
I think we were the first we haven't qualified for the Euros or any major tournament for a long period of time.
No.
So we kind of broke that mold to think that, right, well, we're a small country, we can do it. But we had loads of belief. The backroom staff were amazing. We were all very close.
Yeah.
And now obviously what the boys are doing today as well, where they've gone on to represent Wales in further competitions, has been amazing.
But that foundations was set really at that point, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. And then what as I say, it was definitely set by our squad and the management staff there, and obviously Gary Speed started making things a lot more professional, because before that it was a bit of a shit show at times. Yeah, it was like some people were not turning up. We had Prem boys, we had Ryan Giggs and Bellamy and other people in the Prem like Danny Gabaldon, etc.
Yeah.
And then, no disrespect, but they'd be playing with people who were not even in the Football League, like playing Welsh Prem, and the standards were so different and the levels. It was just crazy, and then eating shit food, for example, and it wasn't like right. And then when Speedo came in, he made things very professional.
And what was he like? I mean, one of the people I want to talk to you about, because he was my childhood hero, was Dean Saunders. Right?
Okay.
I definitely want to talk about him, but let's talk about Speed for a moment, because how much involvement did you have with Gary?
So Speedo was my teammate at Sheffield United, and I used to travel in with him from Manchester.
Oh wow!
So I lived in Manchester. He was in a bit further Chester than me, I think he was, and so we would me, him, James Beattie and Gary Naismith were in a car school together.
Oh, would you?
And he was amazing guy. He helped me a lot when I was like out of the team. He'd always talk to me, and even when he was my teammate, he was like, right, like this is what you need to do, and he was just like, and he was, I'd say, him and Bellamy are the best professionals I've ever come across in football, 100%.
Because I've not heard a bad word about him.
No, amazing guy, best guy.
Yeah, and again, I didn't meet him, but to be part of, I bet you had some great memories.
He's a really, really nice guy. He was amazing professional, amazing person, and then obviously when he became Welsh manager, I was happy for him.
Of course.
He deserved it, and unfortunately everything that happened is. I still remember to this day when I had a phone call or a phone call off Andy King, and he was like saying, have you heard what happened? And he just missed us, and he's a great guy.
He's a great guy. Yeah. And moving, maybe shifting gears then into that mental health part, because I think what you've, there's a lot you've been through, right? From that mental, let's go. I do want to pick up the Dean Saunders bit, right? Because let's just pick him up first before we go on the journey.
He's a loose
right?
cannon.
So, one of the stories you talked about was about, some beers or something before or after a game, and just bringing you together. Like, Dean Saunders, to me, obviously I had a second name the same as him, right?
Yeah.
So everyone, when I was a kid, was like, "Are you related to him?" And I'd always say yes, right? I don't care how long ago distance it was, because I just loved how he played. His Aston Villa days, I loved him.
He's a good player.
He was a very great player. What was he like then to be coached by him?
I really liked Dino.
Yeah. What was his characters that what was his traits that you really liked?
He was hilarious, but if you wasn't mentally tough, he could eat you alive in terms of his little comments and his jokes and. But he was wicked with me.
Was he?
The reason why I signed with Doncaster was only because of him.
Right.
I left Swansea, and he was like, "Look, you need to pick up your career. Like, you should be playing the Prem." And he gave me that belief again. Because when I left Swansea, it was just not right. I was training on my own. I was training with the reserves. I think I was the highest paid player there, and not getting treated very well. Because I signed from Sheffield United and so on. And
was that Swansea?
Yeah, and then Brendan Rodgers. That's one part of his plans, and I was made to train on my own.
Yeah.
Which still I don't agree with in football. I just think it's crazy.
Yeah, maybe we could definitely let's go there while we're in it, because I think that part of the game, people don't see it.
No, they don't see it. And do you know what? It becomes no one. You sign a contract. You're not there to kind of like be an idiot or whatever else. If you're not playing, fair enough. But ultimately, you want to play. But there should be better kind of like resolutions or ways of getting around it. If you want to get the player out or whatever, you still treat him as a human being.
Yeah.
And I know you see things on social media. I wouldn't mind training on my own if I was on X amount of money.
Well,
but until you're in it, you don't know.
I saw something the other day. I watched read one yesterday about someone said I got to eat pasta early or something in the morning to get a 12 o'clock kickoff. It was Rooney. And I read it, and it was like someone had tweeted him back saying, "Look, mate, I'd shove 5 things up my ass if I had to get it if it was on your money." And I was just, that one comment was just like, seek to understand, mate, right?
Yeah, they just don't do. They're just like quick to judge on it and bite on it or whatever it is.
But Brendan Rodgers was what he's done and how he's gone through with it. There's obviously managers that you've had over time. Who's the best you've worked with? And actually, on the flip side of that, whose ones would you class as the other side to that?
Do you know what? I didn't fall out with Brendan Rodgers at all. In terms of, I've always said this, in terms of preparation and the way he coached and the way Brendan Rodgers is the best coach that I've had.
I've heard you say that.
In terms of the training intensity and how it was. I loved the training side of things.
Yeah.
And when I played in the team, I was buzzing. But when you're not playing, you want to play.
Yeah,
Ultimately,
of course.
you want to play. And then it was just circumstances. I was young. He felt like I had things too early, too young, and being on a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
And I've heard him say the same quote about Damari Gray when he was at Leicester. I think with him, he said he had two things too early. It's like a carbon copy of what he said to me.
Sounds
really.
like a pattern there.
Yeah, it sounds like a pattern. I think he questioned what car I had, and I just thought, well, what car do you want me to be driving?
Yeah. What's my car got to do with this?
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I thought at the time. And then that was it. Yeah, but he was a good. I thought he was a good person. It was just like one of those things you just didn't get, professional wise. It's just time to move on, and he had different plans. Whatever else. And so I moved on. But the best manager I've had in terms of the way he managed me was Gary Rowett, because he knew that I was out drinking. He knew that I love women.
This is Birmingham,
It was Birmingham. He knew I was out partying with women and whatever else, but he knew that I'd produce for him on the weekend. We had like amazing banter there. Like the club was good, the players we were close. And
yeah.
And
well, you're on a good run as well.
We were on a really good run, and he got sacked under mad circumstances. I think we beat Ipswich 1-0, and I don't think the owners were happy with the style of football that we were playing. And they wanted to go down a different route, and then we just started bringing in fucking Cowboys, and it was just like, well, not Cowboys in terms of like the name, because Zola's a good coach. He was actually a really nice person.
I was going to say, how was he to play with? Because obviously, a legend of a game, right?
He's a legend. When he used to join in training, he'd help me with like free kicks. He's obviously a master of what he's doing. I don't think the people above him helped the situation, because he's obviously a good coach. He's an unbelievable player, and he's a good human as well.
But how does that transition happen then? So obviously, best coach, gets sacked.
Yeah.
Next day, you got to turn up to work on the Monday.
Yeah.
As a player?
Yeah, life goes on.
Right, but in what way? Because I've always been fascinated by that, right? Like Friday afternoon, you lose a coach. Saturday morning, you're going back to play. You got a game, and you got a new manager in place. It's like, for a player, what is that like? And who said that? Like you just carry on.
Yeah, personally, I was like thinking, what are we doing?
Yeah.
The people above haven't got a clue, is what I was thinking. But then ultimately, you're then still paid to do a job, and then you still want to win.
It's going to work, right? You got to work the next day.
You got to work. It is what it is. Just because, as I say, players, managers come and go. That's just the nature of the beast. Your job is to make sure you stay in that team and win, right? Regardless who's in charge.
Okay,
so nothing changed.
Okay, so best coach that you've played with, and then all of a Zola comes in.
Yeah.
How did you feel you transitioned between both?
I think a lot of us there, I can only speak for myself, but it was just cowboy stuff that was going on. Like some of the coaches that were under Zola were just fucking amateur hour.
Right. And that's what you mean by the backroom staff as well. When you talk about Wales back in the day.
The backroom staff were just not good enough, full stop. He was good enough.
Was he?
Zola is class, and he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy as well. I felt a little bit sorry for him. Even when I was negotiating a new contract with Rowett for a few months, then Zola came in. He wanted to keep me, and then next thing you know, he said, "Look, you must leave, otherwise I need to make your life hell." Basically, by training, you need to train on your own. Yeah. The people above me have told me that we need to get you out. Blah blah. And that's when I went back to Bristol City on loan.
Yeah. And how was that for you? Going back to I
wasn't going to go. I didn't want to go on loan. I wanted to go there on a permanent basis. But I think because a lot of times have changed in football. They treat it more like a business than what they used to. Right. So they have like age categories for certain clubs. We don't sign players over certain ages and blah blah. Rather than go for experienced players. I didn't even feel like I was that old, but like
I know. How old were you then?
I was like 28, 29. So you reach that age, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I've got a few years of me. Like back in the day, they would offer like people when they were 30, 31, see out your career for 3 or 4 years, get them in experience. That all changed.
Right, okay.
It was like, well, we don't really want that. We're going to go for the younger players to make sure they're an asset to sell on.
Yeah, that's what. Because obviously, from a business point of view, you want to nurture them through. So
and as like going back to the Rowett things and Birmingham, I love playing at Birmingham. That was my favourite club that I played for. Just in terms of like the ability, what I was doing on the pitch, I was playing very, very well. I was like in the Welsh squad all the time, and I really enjoyed it. And then that's the problem when you get fucking idiots who come in and try and run the club. That's when you deteriorate very, very quickly. And then they're signing players they've never ever watched. I remember Harry Redknapp brought this one player, and he signed the wrong player and said, "I'm just giving him 40 grand a week." So then you're looking around thinking,
well, what does that do for a player when he's bought someone he shouldn't have bought, right?
And it looks like you just got him off the street as well. He's can't hardly control the ball. Yeah,
is it?
Yeah,
pretty much. Talk about ones that got you there, and what coaches didn't get you?
I think quite a lot. Yeah. I think quite a lot didn't get me, just purely because in the industry back then, I don't know what they're like now. I think they're just like yes men. They don't like people who are going against the grain. They don't like the little rebels who are going to be doing this and doing that. They think you should be at home but footballers have had a lot of time on their hands. I think they train a little bit more now than maybe they do a bit more maybe to keep them at the club so they don't get in so much trouble. But when you're young, you're in like a lot of money. You're going out. You got people outside of your circle always wanting something off you. You're in a club, you can get the pick of the bunch of like women wise, you can do what you feel like you're untouchable really. But that's where it needs to come down to yourself. I'd let myself slip. You need to have a bit more control about yourself.
When you went to Wigan, let's go into your personal life, and let's go, if you don't mind me saying, about the journey with the alcohol and piece of that. When you go from nothing to a lot, what was that transition like to start with? So Wigan, I would have thought, would be your first big paycheck.
So I was on all right at Bristol City. I was on good money at Bristol City for that age.
How did you manage that? At a young age, like you were.
Yeah, it was. Well, when I signed for Wigan, I was 17. I had even back then, I had like £500,000 signing on fee, which is a lot of money. And
what happens with that signing on fee?
Just goes into my account.
No, it goes straight to the player.
Yeah, it goes straight to the player. Obviously, the agents get paid. The agents get paid.
But any signing on fee it goes
to the player.
Right, okay.
So you got
So you're 17 and you got that bonds. Bonds coming in.
But then you're different. Your wages. I was sponsored by Nike. You got all your player appearance, goal bonus, your win bonuses. So it's all integrated with your contract.
Wow. What was it like going from, I say nothing, relatively nothing, to everything?
I didn't really think about the money at that stage. I was just buzzing to be in the Prem.
Brilliant.
I just thought I just wanted to play football with the best players, be around the best players, and I was more excited about playing in the Prem than the money side of things. For sure.
The money was a bit of a byproduct.
Yeah, the money was a bonus. Obviously, it was great. I just used to think if you play well, the money side will come.
Yeah.
If you think about it the other way around, it don't probably come.
No. And I think again, this is a layman's person looking into the fishbowl, right? Because you look at it and go, well, surely it's going to change him. Surely it's going to do that. But actually, that's part and parcel of it. But if your goal was always to play in that Prem, that was the goal, right?
Always to play well, but also on the flip side of things, again, when you're going out and about and you're playing in the Prem or you're playing at a high level, you're going out and about, you're getting recognised non-stop. You're in nightclubs, you're getting recognised. That you've got people coming up to you, trying to get your photo with you, they're doing this and trying to get you in a bit of trouble as well. So you've got all this going on, and that's where a lot of footballers might come across arrogant, but they're actually not. They're just looking after themselves. They know someone's
self-protection.
Someone's always a second away to try and bust them. And
So,
and
how did you find that journey then? So let's go into that journey of, because obviously you said about you haven't drunk or you've been clean for 6 years, 6-7 years. Where did it start not working for you so well?
I think when I had when I broke up with my ex, who I got 2 kids with. I just started drinking. I was just going out drinking loads. I think I was young, free, single. Could do what I want, kind of thing.
Was that mid-20s?
Early 20s.
Early 20s.
I was at Doncaster with Dean Saunders.
Right. Okay.
So he brought me in, took me in. I was flying. We got promoted. We did really, really well as a team, like wicked squad. We're doing well. I was just out and about drinking. I was young, free, single, which I should have been beforehand, but I wasn't. And then next, I was just drinking, and then. The more, the challenges that you're coming up against, maybe you might have been hiding for a period of time. They eventually come to the table. And
like what with that?
I think maybe just, I wasn't able to get access for my children for a while. Then you're having to perform at a high level. You've got the crowd on your back. You've got social media. They're after you.
There's a human behind those,
Yeah, apparently there's a robot, they normally think. But
because that's what, like you said, you talked about the media, and I know, everyone's got a relationship with them. I take it in. And they came after you quite a bit, right? The media, right? From what I've seen, and going back to that early 20s, that switch that you started going out enjoying. I bet it's quite, like I said, people want to give you stuff. They want you in their clubs. They want you working it. So it's that balancing act, isn't it? I would have thought. But
it's tough, yeah.
What was talk me through that? Talk us through that bit of your life.
Yeah, it was tough. I was just always out and about. I don't know if my circle was a good circle to go out for. It's amazing how many times they went missing when the check came to the table, and then you just like
the story you talked about. You're in Dubai, took a guy to Dubai, and then come back, and it was like lunch at Nando's.
Yeah,
I don't know if you want to talk through that one.
Yeah, so we went to Nando's. I went with like a couple of mates, and one of them couldn't afford to go. And because I'm like quite a generous person, I said, "Look, come on, let's go. I'll take you out there."
This is Dubai.
I'll pay for your flight, pay for your hotel, and whatever else. But when you're out there, you have to sort your own spending.
Yeah.
So we were out there, and the one time we were in a club, and we racked up a bill of, I think it was around about 15, 16 grand.
Right.
And
Wow.
he went missing. So I was there to pay it. And then when we got home, I forgot my wallet. We went down to Cardiff Bay, actually. Went for a Nando's, and I left my wallet in my car. And I said, "Oh, look, can you grab this? I've left my wallet." And you'd think that after paying 15, 16 grand on a fucking bill, you might be able to get away with a little £20 Nando's. But he's like, "Oh, yeah." And then when I left him, he messaged me, saying, "Oh, can you send me that 20 quid for Nando's?" And then that's when I started to like really like, get away from those type of people. But it was only my relationship with my youngest daughter's mum that I knew I had a problem, like drinking wise. I was drinking 3-4 bottles of red wine a night. I was probably sucking her into the drinking culture, and it just doesn't bode well, Like I was always out, I was always partying, I was doing stuff, and it just wasn't the one. It was just every time I was drinking, my behaviour was always changing. It was changing who I was rather than. I didn't know what David was going to turn up. And when I used to go to clubs, the waitresses or the waiters would say, "Well, what David is turning up tonight?" I'm like, "I don't know, I'll let you know in an hour after I've had a few rum and cokes."
Oh yeah, it was rum and coke. Rum and coke was usually poison, wasn't it?
Rum and coke was the juice, yeah.
And was there a particular time where you thought, this has got to fucking change?
Yeah, I think when I was towards the back end of my career, I went to India to play. I went there mainly just for the money. I didn't really want to play football anymore. I hated every second of it out there. The culture, it was just a culture shock. I think it might not even been the culture, but just maybe the headspace that I was actually in, wasn't great for me. And I just thought like I wasn't going to play the game to be a yes man. The politics of football it just wasn't for me at all. And
where are we at now? We're in our 30s?
No, I was late. I was
late 20s?
Just turned 30.
Right.
So when I come back from India,
if you don't mind me asking, but it's a funny move.
It is a funny move. Yeah,
I mean, from an outsider again looking in, you think, well,
I just thought I'm coming to that back end of my career. Most of the clubs in the UK were not signing players of that age to then keep for a few contracts. I just thought, just go out there for maybe a couple of years. You have the seasons are very short. Go out there, make your money, come back. And I thought maybe do that for 2 or 3 years and then just nip it in the bud. But I just never got on board with it in terms like that. I lost the mentality of you're playing with like lesser quality players, and it was hard work and mental side of things. And in terms
where was your mental health at that point?
Same thing. I wanted to drink and everything. Yeah,
so it was quite heavy drinking at that point.
Real heavy drinking, early 30. And then when I retired from football. Mentally was just fucked, really.
Yeah. Retired?
I retired at 30. 30. And then I went to New York and I was working for a company and I was doing like well.
Yeah.
I went there and the one guy that I work with, he said, you're nuts when you've had a drink. You're just a fucking ticking time bomb. I said, yeah, I know. I'm going to check into rehab when I get home.
Right.
And then I was speaking with it with my ex about, she's like, you must stop. It's not good for you. You're going to die and this and that. It was like a few, I was on blackouts. I wasn't remembering everything. I wasn't good to be around, really. I was awful to be around. I was just fucking nuts.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I got back home, I checked into rehab. Luckily enough, they brought forward the dates for me to check into rehab, and I haven't drunk since.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And it takes, I suppose it's a death by 1,000 cuts by the sounds of that.
There was a lot of deep stuff that was happening. I've hurt people around me that who I loved or cared about. But with any addiction, you hurt people that you don't want to hurt, and that's just the nature of it. And unfortunately, they'll never forget that. But ultimately, that doesn't define what I'm like as a person now. I've changed and whatever else. And if people can't see past that, then I don't really give a fuck. I don't care. You can't.
And have you found that 7-8 years since that? I know you just said that about people having to give up or either take the apology or they don't.
Yeah.
Have you had to say sorry to a lot of people?
I have a few times to people, but if they can't accept it, then that's absolutely fine, because you can't be defined from your past. You need to move on. If you get defined by your past, you'll never move forward. You'll be depressed for the rest of your life. So you need to just move past that. And like I say, any addiction, you're always going to cause a lot of problems around you, whether you're on recovery or you're still in that addiction phase.
Yeah.
And some people don't get out of it, unfortunately. People lose lives off it.
And what's your relationship with that, the old David now?
I look back and some of my, friends, we talk about certain, like what I used to be like, and some of I want that old David back, and I'm like, you probably want it back because I used to fucking pay for all your bills. But
yeah, absolutely, but
like
I used to pay the bills.
I used to pay the tab. But like I look back and think I had amazing times, fun times, enjoyed. I went to amazing places in the world, experienced different things. But I don't want to be back to being that old David. But that taught me lessons. That's who I am today, and so on. But I would say, we just live in a mad society now where you have to justify not drinking. It's like when you go to a restaurant, like, you're going to have a red wine with that steak. You have to try. It's the only drug you have to justify not having.
Yeah, I agree. I'm 10 years. I'm 11 years. I wouldn't class it. I'm 11 years sober, but I'm 11 years. I haven't touched a drop.
Well done.
So
well
thank you, mate. Temple Lane was one of it.
Yeah.
I came out of Temple Lane. And I was, it was the last time I've been to hospital, sharing a story, but it was my fourth time in hospital. And I woke up, I owned Temple Lane. I thought an ego as big as the flipping, this is my bar, I'll drink what I want to. And someone was spiking my drink with vodka. And I ended up being sick outside Hugo Boss's front door. I was on the floor being sick, and my wife was, my sister was at my bedside when I got to the hospital.
Oh, wow.
And when I woke up, she said, I said, I'd been here before because I knew where I was, right? I knew I was in hospital. I knew what had happened. I knew. And she said, look, when the guy found you, you were choking on your sick.
Oh,
so
wow.
if he hadn't found you, you'd be fucking dead, And I said I wasn't going to drink from that day on, and I haven't drunk since that day. But do you have any moments like that where did you have a moment specifically that you just thought, that's it, today's the day, that's it?
Yeah, I think there was a number of things. I think mainly for my children, it was going down a way of I didn't want to really be around, to be honest. It was like just drinking, all sorts went wrong on a personal level. And I felt like drink was the only escape. The problems are still there the next day. They just might make you forget for a few hours, Yeah. And drinking's not the way forward. It just delays the actual reaction to it. But us as humans, we look for the quick fix, and alcohol was my quick fix.
Yeah. And what would you say to someone who's sat there now, and that they know they got a problem? They know they got a problem, or they know, like I look at drinking alcohol now, and I'm the same as yourself with regards to, sometimes I'm going to make a story up not to have a drink, right?
Yeah.
And our culture is very much that way, right? I think Great Britain's known for it.
Yeah.
But if someone sat there at the moment and they look at someone like yourself that has had everything in their eyes, right? What advice would you give someone who's going through a similar place?
I think that's a tough one, because I don't think everyone knows that they got a problem. They're either shutting it down or not. And they might have people around saying, they're sticking up for their wives or their husbands or wherever it might be. Oh, he doesn't have a problem, blah, blah, blah. But I think it becomes a problem when it changes your behaviours and how you're acting. Like I was trying to jump out of taxis at like whatever. I was jumping across car bonnets. It was a
nice situation, was it?
Yeah, I was in my kitchen one time with my ex, and I had like a thing to me. I just had like a blackout then.
Yeah.
It was like a while ago that.
Yeah.
So that was, and then as I say, I just wanted to change for like my children's sake, really, and that was my thing. I wanted to make sure that they had a dad to be around, and then that was it. That was just a turning point. I needed something to kind of like get me going, and that was the only thing that I would do.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fact that But again, going back to that, what would you get? What would they do? Because I agree with you. I didn't think I had a problem. Now I look back, I was a pain in my fucking ass.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know I had a problem back then because not many people end up in hospital. It just wasn't the normal thing.
Well, when I checked into rehab, I actually went there and I said, the first day I said, can you teach me how to drink just 2 glasses of Malbec and just be normal?
Yeah.
And they were like,
all or nothing.
We don't do that. You're either in it all or nothing, like what you just said. And I think the only advice that I would say is, there's an old saying that I got taught from AA, and most people say, they said, if you keep going to the barber shop, you're going to eventually get a haircut. In other words, if you keep putting yourself in those positions, you're going to eventually pick up a drink or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So just be mindful of where you go in, who you surround yourself with. Because I always say to my children, no, you are who you hang around with.
Yeah. And that's that circle thing you were talking about, right?
Yeah, it's the same thing. And if you're mindful of that, and just change your routine and change your structure. But again, it comes down to action in anything in life. If you want to be successful, it comes down to action. If you want to stop drinking, it comes down to action. You need to.
And going back to that word you used earlier on, consistency, right?
Yeah, you got to be consistent in your own behavior. That's why I always laugh when I go to the gym this time of year. You got like everyone's coming in, new year, new me.
Yeah, yeah.
And no disrespect, I think, well, you were fucking out of shape in July. So
yeah. Why is it taking until January 1st to do it?
It's about action, and everyone wants that quick fix. They don't like the gym routine, or they want all these jabs and whatever else, which is so unhealthy and blah blah blah. So. As I say, everyone's looking for that quick fix rather than putting in the effort and the hard work.
And your effort that you've put in has got you to where you are now. What's the biggest low you've had since football?
I think when I left football, it's kind of like finding that passion, because when you're a footballer, you will never. It's hard to explain the adrenaline rush of playing in front of thousands of people.
What was it like? If you could explain how would you? Because for me,
like the dream, really. And I do you know what? I didn't hate getting abused by the fans. I used to love it when I was taking a corner. I used to get absolutely abused. I used to just turn around and laugh because I thought that's part of the banter. I used to love it.
Yeah.
And if you're getting stick, I think you're doing something right.
Yeah.
So that must mean they thought I was a decent player. But I used to love all that side of things. But playing in front of that's what you set out to. That's what you dreamt about as a child. Your aim was to play in front of thousands of people. Your dream was to play football. It's the best thing in the world.
So a question on from that then. 30 is an early time to finish that up, isn't it?
Very early.
What did you... I suppose the identity... I'm interested now... I wouldn't mind asking you a couple of questions around identity. Do you identify as a footballer?
No. Well, as soon as my football career was, I was just like that. That's it. But people still refer to me. Like, he used to play football. He's an ex-footballer. But
as I said to you, Temple Lane, we got the Birmingham boys coming down, the footballers, right? Because it's like that. We've got to get them in because they're going to rack up a load of champagne
business
and whatever. Business. Get them in, let's go. Yeah. But you don't identify then as that.
No.
Where does that identity? How did it feel like when that? I know you've tried to. What you're saying is you're trying to. I don't identify as a footballer anymore. What do you identify as?
I don't know. I just think I just identify as who I am right now. I don't put labels on it. I just think that was my past. I used to be a footballer. Everyone, a lot of people dream about doing the job I did. But that was like my past life. I don't say, I'm a footballer or try.
If I didn't know you now and I came up to you and said, like, I am Jon, David, what would you say? If I said, what'd you do?
The trick of all trades, master of none. No, I wouldn't. Jack of all trades. Sorry,
yeah.
I wouldn't. No, I do like a few bits and bobs, but I don't mainly paddle.
Yeah. But
I'd love to be a pro paddle player.
Yeah, I see you on the paddle court.
I think that's kind of like giving me like the adrenaline rush now of like the competitive side. I needed that. Yeah, I was doing. Yeah. I had my own podcast. I was doing working for the BBC and not as a contract basis, but here, there, and everywhere, and on matches, and did a lot of stuff surrounding football. I went into football agency when I first retired. An agent tried fucking tucking me up there, tried selling stories on me.
Right.
So that was the prime target of why I didn't want to be involved in the politics and the culture of football, is because the newspapers were releasing articles on me.
Yeah. Which one hurt the most from them?
I think it was just like the business that went in, and I lost a lot of money, and I was getting the blame for it, or whatever it is, and people have been hurt for that, and I obviously apologise. No one wants to get hurt from that part of side of things.
And the biggest learning for you on that?
Just to stay far away from it as possible. But I just think from, especially the agent side, I worked on behalf of his agency. He owed me money for a salary that I was owed, and I got a player from non-league to Oxford. I didn't get paid no salary, no agency fee when I got this player a move.
Yeah.
And then when all these newspaper articles were coming out, he emailed me. The best thing he did was email me, because he was like, look, we should spin this and sell a story, whatever, and try and build you up in a certain way.
Right.
I ignored the email, and then he tried going to the Sun newspaper and saying, oh, well, I work with David and he's the X, Y, and Z. And then my PR woman, luckily, I sent her over the email and they pulled the plug on that newspaper. But like so many people were trying to sell stories on me to even, ramp it up 1,000%.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like kick a man down, trying to kick someone down when he was, man down. And it was just like, from that point of view, I just thought I didn't trust too many people anyway, but that just cemented it a little bit more.
And where does trust sit for you now?
I think it's hard to come into my circle, to be fair. I'm alone quite a lot, and I love my own time.
Yeah.
If I allow you into my space, there's a reason for it. But I don't like flaky people.
Yeah. What is it about flaky people you don't like?
It's just inconsistency. I think if you're a grown adult and you have to flake on people, I think there's a fucking problem.
Yeah.
I try and keep to what I say. I try, like my thing these days, I always try and do what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Whereas before I might have been a nightmare myself. But as adults, if you can't keep to your word and try and do, like, say I'm going to be there on a certain time, I'm going to be dinner, or I'm going to do this and do that, well, fucking do it then, be there.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a problem. We live in a society now where we find it difficult to have these conversations, whether you like someone or not. If we say we like someone or we don't, it'd make the world spin a lot easier, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would.
Because we just live in a mad culture now. We just live in a very flaky culture.
Yeah. No, we do, mate. Yeah, no, and I think that bit you were talking about earlier on around your dad and you upgrading into football, it's a different world now than when you were in, even though it was only 20, 30 years, right?
Yeah.
Or 20 years ago, 30 years ago when you were in that space. And it is a different space now than when you were in. Do you like where it's gone? Is there anything you liked? Would you make it now if you were going for it now? Would you make it now?
Yeah.
Why?
Just ability wise, I think they play a lot more attractive football. I was always like about technical side of things. I had a good shot, good set pieces.
Yeah.
Like a player, I was a good player, I thought.
Mate, you were.
And I think athletically I was good. And it's more about, I find that the players now are real like athletes. A lot more. I'm not technically, I think they used to be better, I think.
Yeah.
But now I think it's just more about like athletes, sorry.
And you'd have fitted better into that.
I think I would have fitted still like quite well. I was always like really quick. I was always fit. I was always covering like 13, 14k a game on the wing, and I was like always technically good. So I think I would have fitted in both. But I do feel there's a lot more pressure. Like the pressure on these young guys and footballers these days is enormous, to do with social media and you've got like these people on given the limelight in the media now that have never played football in their lives. They're all YouTubers, etc. Not if they're trying to create a platform, then good for them. But sometimes on Sky Sports now you've got people who've never played the game and they're just having all these inputs, and you just like you have no idea.
That's what I'm saying. Is that everyone's got a view.
Yeah, everyone's got a view, and they're getting more of a profile than the ex-players who knows what's going on.
Yeah, no, definitely, mate. When your identity went for yourself, or when your identity what hit the hardest?
To be fair, do you know what? I didn't actually struggle with retiring from football. A few of my mates have called me, and when they retired from football, they really, really struggled to find their identity. They didn't know what they were going to do, and so on. I just thought, I was doing a bit of work for like the BBC straight away. As I say, I was then work for a company. I did a bit of agency work and whatever. I was just trying to find like my niche, what I really like. So I took a few months out just to try and find what got me going a little bit, because it's hard, isn't it? I think you should prepare more for, retirement a bit earlier, where there's like investments in certain things. But then again, you've got people who are going to be after you, like financial advisors or whatever else. They
all want a bit of your pie.
They all want a bit of the cut. There's car dealers, there's finance people, the agents. There's a lot of like snaky people out there. Yeah, 100%. They always want. They think you're looking after you, but they're not. They're all in it for themselves.
And are there many from that then that we're all over you? No, they're not.
Of course. As soon as you retire from football, you don't hear of them.
Done.
When I went into rehab, my mum and dad were the only people who messaged me.
Were they?
No one else messaged me.
Wow.
So, and then you come out, it's then in the newspaper, the newspapers got hold of I was in rehab and blah, blah, blah. So it was then all like another big thing. And then everyone's like reaching out to you and little bits about, but do people really care? I doubt they do. They just move on with their lives. It's like,
it's just hard, mate, isn't it?
It's just the way of the world. And I don't want anyone to, think
No, but it's not about feeling sorry. But for me, like, I'll give you an example. I used to walk around town on a Saturday afternoon, right?
Yeah.
So when I had Tiger back in the day when it was like, it was the biggest, I suppose the biggest thing in Cardiff, and it was big, right? It was a big place to come. And I'd have control of who came in on the front door, right?
Yeah. Is that why I was never allowed in there?
Yeah, mate, you'd always be allowed in. So Timber Lane, we were flipping on it, right? But I used to go on a Friday, and then Saturday I'd walk, just walk in town, and you'd see everyone doing this.
Yeah.
Like looking the other way, and I'm like, mate, last night we were like best mates.
Yeah.
Like we couldn't get any closer. You were having shots with me at the bar, and then on the Saturday you're looking the other way, and you didn't even want to know me.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot from just that sort of. Yeah, I know why you want me. It's because you only want to get in to be seen with the people that I can get you in with, right?
Yeah, of course.
And then all of a sudden, like I say, but you find a lot. Like when I went bankrupt, I found my real mates.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
you do.
I found my real mates.
Sometimes, but that's good though. That's for you that you've now learned that lesson. It's the same. It's the same thing as most people, And I learnt my lesson, and that's just the way it is. And I've made lots of mistakes. I've hurt many people over the years, and wherever else. And that's I got live with that kind of thing. But I don't really let the past define what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. I don't think about it. I just have a routine, do what I need to do, and then that's it. Yeah,
I love that. Right. So one thing. If we were gonna, mate, it's been fascinating. I knew I wanted you on. I wanted to talk because there's loads within that I could talk all day with you.
Yeah,
right. I could because I think what you've done and how you've done it. You've got the battle bruises. You've got and like I say, for me, there's a lot of. You've been there, done it, bought the T-shirt, and I think there's so much within that people. I will take a lot from this because it's like, but. One thing you want the listeners to remember from this conversation about you, what would be the one thing you'd want them to remember?
Probably, if you work hard enough, you can achieve anything in life, whether that's career-wise in terms of whatever you're doing, whether you're a car salesperson or whatever you are, builder, if you want to be an athlete, whatever it is. I think if you work hard enough, you can achieve anything. And if you get knocked down, you just always keep going.
Yeah, I love that. Is there a question I haven't asked you that you think I should?
No, I think you've covered all the bases in terms of the career-wise and the addiction side of things. And I just think there's a lot more people struggling than what, they may be let on, especially in, athletes as well. I think the drinking culture, you went out when I was just coming towards the end of my career, but I think, the pressures on young people now are huge. Like everyone wants to be the finished article when they're only just setting out. Social media plays a massive thing into that. Like everyone's getting judged on a daily basis, whether you're a woman, whether you're good looking enough, or oh my god, her makeup's this way, or whether you're a guy, you earn an amount of money. Everyone's looking for the finished article without actually working hard enough from a younger age. I think social media is the root of all evil, really.
Well, it plays it, mate. So what would you say to that? Again, I know from the message coming through, but what would be your echoing message from that working, turning up and working? What would be your
don't compare your lives to anyone else, because everyone's on a different journey and different path. You can only control what you can control. So it goes back to if you work hard enough, you can achieve anything. But everyone's on a different stage in life, Don't be fooled by what people are posting on social media, because people are posting, happy relationships and like right, Christmas time does my nutting. Yeah. Like everyone's posting at Christmas time, they're all wearing the matching pajamas, and you look at some couples, you think, I'd seen one of you cheating the other week.
Yeah.
So don't be fooled by what social media is doing. Just concentrate on what you're doing, because that's the only thing you can control. And again, if you work hard enough, you can achieve anything you want. But just make sure it's.
And if you could go back and have a chat with the 16-year-old David, and you could give him a bit of advice, what sort of advice would you give him and why?
I would have focused more on my career. When I got to each stage, I would have worked harder, taken on board a little bit more what the coaches were saying, but not be a pushover either.
Anything specific with those? Because I just working harder, for someone sat there thinking, well, you got 24 caps for Wales, right? What do you mean by working harder?
I don't think that was good enough.
Right.
I think okay, 24 caps. I should have had a hell of a lot more.
80,
I
yeah.
should have had minimum 80. I was in the squad for like over 10 years.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, for whatever reason, style of play, the tactics, maybe a manager didn't. You put me in the squad, but did he really like my personality?
Yeah.
I had Giggs, Bale, Bellamy, Ramsey all in my position. So what are you going to do? There's levels to the game, isn't there? So, but I felt like on occasions I should have had more caps even coming on or whatever.
But working harder on what?
Just in terms of maybe listening to the coaches, what they were saying, just play the game a little bit. I was always, but I couldn't play the game. I was always like, well, no, fuck you. I couldn't just sit there and just take it. I was always like, well, I'm not some div. Yeah. And whereas like other boys played the game a lot better, they had longer careers. They played maybe in a league for longer because they were playing the game. They were a bit more of a yes man than me, unfortunately. And ability-wise, they were nowhere near better.
No.
But they knew how to play the game. And sometimes I think I just should have bit my tongue a little bit more. And also I think I should have, when I moved to Manchester, I think I should have moved my parents up there to be with me.
Right.
I think that would have made me more...
Why is that?
I think that would have made me more grounded. I think, you're up there, you're a young player, you're earning ridiculous money, you're going shopping left, right and centre, you're in a nice house. I was 17, I was in like £1 million house, and that was a lot of money back then.
Wait, it's a lot of money now.
And I was like doing what I wanted, and then when the agents get you the move, they're not really checking up on you. Again, you got the financial advisors taking a bit of off you.
So
Card.
On that note, what did you do with? If you want me asking, what did you do? I'm not worried about the number. What did you do with your money? You were 17. Did you mum and dad look after it?
No, my financial advisor looked after it.
He or she had all of it.
Yeah, I bought a lot of property. I had a lot of ISAs. I had a lot of it, like savings. I was doing divorces that don't help.
No, they don't, mate. No, I bet. They cost a lot, mate.
They cost a lot of money.
Yeah. I bet. No, I'm not, and I'm not worried about. It's more about, like I said, a young kid come into the sport, and I'm thinking, what would I do if I had that money injected? I'm not sure if I would. I can look at my parents and think, well, yeah, I would want them to be part of that journey. But I think that reflection piece you're talking about is just them being around you, to ground you,
just to make sure you stay humble. I think just being more grounded, and I think when you go in a strange way, because my dad, I told you, he's my biggest critic and he's also my biggest cheerleader.
Yeah.
At times where he was becoming, like when I was a young age, where I was getting like fucking, literally, I've had a bad game. It's like, bang, bang, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
And it was intense. But looking back, you do need that push. But as you say, it's a balance. And sometimes you could go over that. And then as soon as I made it as a footballer, I just thought, well, I'm the footballer now.
Yeah.
What are you going to say to me now? It shouldn't have been that way.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It should have been like, do you know what? Because, as I say, he was still like driving here, there and everywhere to watch me play.
I bet.
But I think that's healthy though. I think your parents should be your biggest cheerleader and your biggest critic, because they should be able to tell you what you need to do right. And I think that's what got me to where I was, because you need that strong foundation behind you.
Yeah, I love that, mate. And on that note, I am going to thank you massively for coming on.
No problem.
I'm going to say, I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years. I've not met anyone that's been as open, as honest, and just, I mean, that humble word you worked at the end, I think that for me, like, I've not had an interview that's been so open and humble as you. So thank you ever so much for coming on, for one. But two, just keep doing what you're doing, mate.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, mate, amazing.
Top man.
Thank you, bud.
Thank you.
No, honestly.